The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Untitled Fantasy. Baseball Mania is alive with $15 million in prizes. Sign up with promo code MLB SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash on UntiltedFantasy.com. Promo code MLB SGPN. We're also brought to you by Royal Retros. Royal Retros has jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, and sweatshirts from all the old school teams that you love. Use promo code SGPN for 10% off your order today. That's at code SGPN at royalretros.com. And welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Sunday afternoon, Mother's Day edition, at around 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time on May 12th. I'm your host for this one, Scott Reichel, joined once again by Lonte, and together we're going to break down the Monday card for the MLB. Lonte, first things first, how's your Sunday Mother's Day betting going?
Pretty good. Pacers handling business. Not good, and it hasn't been a good weekend for me. Actually, probably hasn't been a good week for me in the MLB. So Sunday shows have been pretty good. Looking forward to the Monday card. So hopefully you can get back on track. But yeah, not a good betting week for me in the MLB. That's for sure.
Yeah, mine's kind of been the opposite, where I've had a good week, but I had a bad day. I ended up winning the lock on the last show we did together. I had the Rockies game over 10.5, and the Rockies scored 8 runs. So that ended up going over as that landed 11. But for today, I had the Brewers, and they scored 3 runs in the first inning as Mikolas. And I'm not sure how Mikolas managed to throw like 45 pitches in the first inning, and he still went 6 innings. I'm not sure how he pulled that off, but he ended up pitching well besides the first inning, and the Brewers kind of fell apart in the middle innings. Of course, Goldschmidt's at like 1 for 34, and then has a home run and an RBI, so another RBI hit. So, yeah, not exactly the most fun start to the betting day, but we'll see what happens. I had the Pacers too, so it could have been worse. But for baseball, losing to Mikolas, not fun when the Cardinals have lost 7 straight and they find a way to win a game. Anything else you want to talk about for the actual weekend or for Sunday, or should we move on to the Monday games?
No, not really. I had them as well. Got to think twice about fading the White Sox. Good God, they killed me the past few weeks. And I didn't bet Cleveland today, and of course they go 7-0. But yeah, man, looking forward to a clean slate, a couple new series. So yeah, I'm ready to get into it.
Yep. Okay. So me too. Well, let's start off with the first game on the slate. Looking at a matchup between the Blue Jays and the Orioles, you have the Blue Jays getting about plus 140, while the Orioles are laying about 165. For the sake of the pitching matchup, it is going to be Burnes against Berrios, 2 pitchers with basically the exact same numbers. 2.85 ERA for Berrios, 2.83 ERA for Burnes. As for the over-under, currently being set at around 7.5 or 8 for this game. First glance, I'm going to lean to the under, but Berrios was in great form this season, and then he got shelled. It's the last time out, so I am kind of wondering if Berrios might be in the middle of some serious regression. Last start, faced off against the Phillies, 3 2/3, 8 earned runs. So maybe you could argue that he had one bad start, and therefore he's been undervalued, or maybe he's been overachieving so far, and that was his wake-up call back to reality. I think for this one, I'm going to go with the under in this game. I understand that Berrios got shelled the last time out. Burnes has still been good. I think you're looking at what should be a pretty fun pitching matchup. I see a lower scoring game here. Toronto's offense, besides the comeback win they ended up having on Saturday, has been underwhelming for most of the season. So I'll lean to the under here. I think this total is a bit high at 8. Give me some type of 4-2 final.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the under is in play. Berrios, I mean, Philadelphia lit him up like you mentioned, but I mean, Philadelphia is probably as hot as anybody in the MLB. So I don't know how much you can hold that against him. But the thing that I am worried about is he allowed 4 home runs in his last 3 starts. So that could be trouble for Baltimore's offense if they get, they get in the groove. But they've won 8 of 11. Toronto's 9-14 on the road. Baltimore really good at home. They're 12-9 on the run line at home, so they're getting it done on the run line. I trust Burnes to he's been lights out at home. I mean, 2 earned runs or less in all of his home starts. So I think Toronto's offense, the way they've been struggling, I don't think they have a shot here. That's why I agree with the under. I think Burnes shuts them down, and anything that we get from Baltimore offensively is just a feather in the cap, because I think they'll be able to come out and score some runs, and I don't think Toronto will be able to. So I think we can see even like a 5-1, maybe even a 5-0 type of score here. So I agree with the under, but I like Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm with Baltimore as well. They're solid at home. Toronto's a team I don't like, and Manoah actually pitched pretty well, and it didn't matter because they barely scored at all. So, Yeah, give me the Orioles, but I am going to go with the under as my main thought on that game. Moving on to the second game, you have the Marlins taking on the Tigers in a game that nobody's going to watch. You have the Tigers at around minus 165. You have the Marlins at around plus 140. You have Sanchez pitching against Maeda, two pitchers who have both been really, really bad this season. As for Maeda, though, he has been a little bit more tolerable lately, kinda. He ended up struggling a lot against Cleveland, gave up 7 runs in 2 innings, but the 2 starts prior to that, 6 innings, 1 run against the Cardinals, 5 innings, and no runs against the Rays. I'm assuming that the 2 good starts were the outliers because he's mostly been terrible. Sixto's been a mess, kind of a shame because he was a top prospect, had some injury issues, missed about, 2+ years or so. Came back and he's not been very good. For this matchup, the question is, with the total being set at 8 or 8.5, I also see rumors that Manning might be pitching in this game,
Yeah,
so keep an eye out.
they placed Maeda on the 15-day IL with sickness. So I don't. They said they're bringing Manning up, but like I don't know. So there's a lot of uncertainty in this game. Um, so I kind of like skipped over it, to be honest, because I mean I don't know who's pitching because they have Maeda listed, but the reports I seen Detroit's I think Twitter or maybe the beat writer tweet out that they placed Maeda on a 15-day IL. This was yesterday, so I'm not even sure why they have him up here. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure.
I think ESPN fell asleep at the wheel because you click on Maeda's player profile and it says on IL. So I
Yeah,
don't know
so
what they're doing. So it might be Manning. So keep that in mind. Manning is kind of come back from injury, and they typically fade those kind of pitchers, but at the same point, Sixto has been really bad.
yeah,
So I think for this one, I don't want to lay 165 with Detroit, even though Miami's terrible. You know what? Miami did beat Wheeler today, courtesy of a walk-off, so maybe they can build off that momentum. But I think for this one, I might not mind Miami team total over in this game. I just think you're looking at Miami. I know their offense is really bad, but Manning, with him not pitching for a while, I think is a bit concerning to expect a lot of high quality things from his appearance. So I think the Marlins might have a low team total here, and I think because of that, you might be able to jump on it at maybe 3.5, maybe even a flat 3 if you shop around. I'll lean to Miami team total over. Not a strong opinion. I don't want to lay this price with Detroit. I don't want to lay. I mean, I don't want to get this price with Sixto because Sixto's been terrible. So just give me Miami team total over, and hopefully they find a way.
yeah. I was leaning to the first 5 for Detroit just simply because of what you just said with Sanchez. I mean, he's more of an opener than a starter since those injuries occurred. No more than 4 innings pitched in both starts that he made. He also allowed 7 combined runs, and Detroit is known to get hot early. I think they put 6 or 7 on Houston in the first inning over the weekend. So they have the potential to get hot early, but I don't know how hot. So I'll just think they can be up by a run. Maybe we can go 1-0 in the first 5, depending on who's pitching. But yeah, I'm going to lean to Detroit in the first 5. I don't have anything else strong on this one.
Yeah. Moving on to the next game, though, you have the Phillies taking on the Mets. For this one, the Phillies are obviously favored, but not by that much. They're only minus 125, where the Mets are plus 105. Sanchez is pitching for Philly. He has pretty good numbers, 3.22 ERA. Manaea is pitching for the Mets. Pretty similar numbers, 3.31 ERA. Philly's been the hottest team in the league. Yes, they ended up losing in walk-off fashion to Miami, but the point is they have been a very solid team over the last month, ended up winning the series against Miami despite losing the final game on Sunday. As for the Mets, they almost got no hit on Saturday, and they ended up getting a home run by JD Martinez, who I might have forgotten was on the Mets,
Right.
in the ninth inning with 2 outs. Mets, I believe, are playing the night game tonight, so we have to at least keep in mind it might be an interesting scheduling spot because the Mets are, of course, the late game, and then they have to play in or I should say against Philly. But luckily for them, I believe this game's at home, so
Yeah, it
they're not
is.
going to have to travel at all. So that is definitely a plus. For this game, though, at minus 125, why would I not just take the Phillies? I feel like this team's better. The Mets offensively have not been great lately. The pitching's been up and down. Give me Philly at what I think is a pretty reasonable price.
Yeah, I'm going with Philly as well. Although Manaea has been pretty good. I mean, he had one bad start versus Kansas City, but other than that, hasn't allowed a lot of contact. 4 hits or less in 3 of his 4 starts. Has not allowed a home run in his last 4 starts. So I think that's the way to go with all that power in the lineup for Philly. But Philly, I think, just too strong. I think if they can get to the bullpen, they'll be just fine. I mean, they're 1-9 of their last 11. They're 13-5 on the road. Offense has been scorching hot. They scored 6+ in 5 of their last 6. Even as a favorite, man, they're 24-10 as a favorite. They lost the 10th game today. 11-7 on the run line on the road. So I think all signs point to Philadelphia here. I think the Mets are going to be playing in a high leverage game. I mean, the point spread of that game tells you that today. I think they're only like -1. I think they actually flipped the favorite. I think they're -110 now against the Braves tonight. So high leverage game against the Braves. I think that if they win that, we get a little bit more value on Philadelphia as well. So I like Philadelphia here, first 5 as well. So, going to keep that streak alive. First 5 in full game for the Phillies.
Yeah, for the total in this game, total's being set at around 7.5. I know both pitchers have been pretty good, but I have a hard time taking unders with Phillies offense.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to lean over at 7.5, but
Yeah.
I think I prefer the Phillies in general on the side. Moving on to the next game, you have the Red Sox taking on the Rays. You have the Rays as the road favorites at around +105. You have the Red Sox at around -125. For the pitching matchup, Crawford's pitching 1.75 ERA. Eflin is pitching for Tampa, 3.75 ERA. The over-under is currently being set at around 8.5. Now, Crawford's numbers have been good this season. Recently, he has not been as sharp as he was to start the season, but he's still good nonetheless. He's been fine. Ended up going 6 innings, 2 runs against the Braves, 7 innings, 2 runs against the Giants. So overall, he's been solid. As for Eflin, he was kind of underwhelming to start the year, but then he had a good start last time out against the White Sox, if you do count it. But he ended up giving up 1 run in that entire start. For this one, though, I think I am going to lean to... I mean, it's tricky because Boston has not been in good form lately, but they did end up having a good weekend against Washington. I think I am going to lean to Boston here. It might be a close game, but Tampa, from watching them in that Yankee series, the bullpen is as bad as advertised. That's a really bad bullpen, and it blew up again on Sunday. I'll go with the Red Sox here at a cheap number. I think the home crowd is going to help matters in this matchup. So for this one, I am going to go with the Red Sox on the money line at -125. You?
Yeah, I agree with you. I also like the under a lot more. Boston's under in 9 of the last 10. Tampa Bay offense is inconsistent. You mentioned the numbers with Crawford. I mean, he's been really good. Hasn't even had a lot of run support, and he's still been able to kind of squeak out a couple of wins. He's had 4 straight quality starts. That's his 5th of the year. His last start was his 5th of the year. 5 earned runs and 4 home starts combined. He pitched well against solid offenses Atlanta and Baltimore. This is definitely a step down in class from them. And I mean, I think Eflin, he has 4 quality starts as well out of 8, and he's allowed 7 earned runs in his last 2 starts though on the road. 4 of those were by the White Sox, and I think although Boston's offense has been inconsistent, I think their offense is a couple of notches above what the White Sox is. So I think we see a low scoring affair here. Maybe they can get to Eflin later, but I might go first 5 under as well. But I like the under in the game, Scott. I think both offenses are going to struggle here. I think we see like a 4-3 type of game.
Yeah, I can see something like that as well. Moving on, though, before we get into the actual next game on the slate, do want to remind you once again that we are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. They have a great pick'em game, which is a simple selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your favorite sports. You can win a ton of times your money, and it is a ton of fun. Underdog's available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and even Canada. They also have a lot of great options for baseball. They have really anything you could think of. They have fantasy score, they have walks, they have a half a run first inning, everything you possibly want they have at Underdog. And they also have a lot of great promos going on. As you're looking at bonus cash airdrops, you have specials, you have giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow Underdog Picks on Twitter to keep an eye out. Underdog's available in 30-plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada. They also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. So sign up with the promo code MLBSGPN to claim your special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code MLBSGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished covering a couple of games for the upcoming Monday card. Now it is time for the actual continuation of covering each game. So moving on to the next game, you have a matchup between the Cubs and the Braves. And for this one, you are looking at what should be a fun matchup because it is a battle of 2 playoff teams right now. Braves obviously in second place because the Phillies have been so good. Looking at the actual line, though, you have the Braves at -145, the Cubs at around +125. You have Lopez against Imanaga, which is a phenomenal pitching matchup. Imanaga has been really, really good. He's leading the NL in ERA. He's probably the favorite to win the Cy Young right now. Lonte, I'm going to ask you, though. I do think the Cubs are the better team, but Ronaldo Lopez has been good. Shockingly, I still trust Imanaga more personally, so I think I am going to lean to the Cubs. But I'll lean first five. I don't want the bullpen in there. Just give me the Cubs first five to get a little bit of damage done against the likes of against the likes of Lopez, and I do think Imanaga can hold his own. So give me the Cubs first five in this game.
Yeah, I think both pitchers can hold their own. To be honest with you, so I'm leaning to the under. If you look at when you think about Atlanta, most people think they were an over team because of how powerful their offense has been, but the offense hasn't been as good lately, especially on the road. So they're back home where they're more comfortable. So I think we can see a little bit of uptick in their offense, but I don't see much, especially with Imanaga on the mound. Now, this is Imanaga's first road test versus an elite offense. He did pitch well against the Dodgers, but they were at home. So obviously, an advantage there. But Atlanta is under in 20. They're under in 21 of their 35 games, if I'm not mistaken. So, and 4 of those were pushes. So I mean, they have been playing under. They're under in 5 straight and 9 of the last 10. Chicago has been an under team all year. 22 out of their 40 games that went under. I think both pitchers on the mound are going to pitch great. Lopez 1 earned run or less in 4 of his 5 starts. So I think we're in for a pitcher's duel. I see a low-scoring game. I might even go first 5 under here, Scott, but I like the under in this game a lot.
Yeah, total's at 8. I think that's a bit too high. I'll lean to the under on that total as well. Moving on to the next game, you have a matchup between the Pirates and the Brewers. For this one, the Brewers are minus 135. The Pirates are plus 115. You have Rhea against Keller. So Rhea is 3-0 with a 3.29 ERA. Keller is 3-3 with a 4.41 ERA. Simply put, I'm going to take Milwaukee. They did burn me against Mikolas on Sunday. I still don't exactly like Keller in general, and I think that his prices are always off because they think he's better than he actually is. Give me the better team. We know Pittsburgh can't really hit. I think Milwaukee gets the job done. Give me the Brewers money line.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And Keller's coming off a complete game. Good spot to fade. I'm always looking to fade those pitchers off of good complete games, or whether it's a no-hitter or close to a no-hitter, whatever the case may be. He has allowed 4 earned runs in half of his starts. One of those came against Milwaukee. They split a 4-game set in April, but it was pretty close. 14-13, Milwaukee got outscored. 2 of the 4 went under, or 3 of the 4 went under. I'm sorry. So I think we can expect a low-scoring game here, especially with Pittsburgh's offense continuing to be inconsistent. Milwaukee has scored 5+ in 4 of the last 5, whereas Rhea, he's been pretty much up and down, man. 0 earned runs, 5 earned runs, 0 earned runs, 4 earned runs. So inconsistent, but I don't think you have to worry about that against a pedestrian offense like Pittsburgh. So I think Rhea is in better form right now. I like Milwaukee at home.
Yeah. Moving on to the next game, you have the Nationals taking on the White Sox. For this one, you are looking at the Nationals being road favorites, so about minus 125. You have the White Sox getting plus 105. Over-under for this game is currently being set at around, trying to find it. I see 8 or 8.5. So for this matchup, Williams has been very good for Washington, 4-0, 1.96 ERA, done a great job of limiting home runs. And you're looking at Flexen, who has been underwhelming. So I think I have to go with the Nationals here. I know they weren't great over the weekend against Boston, but I do think that they are the better team in this matchup, obviously, because the White Sox are god-awful. It's not often you end up getting an opportunity to fade the White Sox at minus 125. I'm going to have to savor this one, so I'll go with the Nationals money line.
Yeah, like I said earlier in the open, man, I've been fading the White Sox for the past 2 weeks. It's been burning me a lot, actually. Got me this weekend really good as well. But so credit to them. I mean, they've been way more competitive than they have been at the start of the season. Now they're still awful, but they've won 4 of the last 5. Washington, though, really good on the road, 12-9. Quality of opponent has been a lot better than what the White Sox have faced in the last few series. So I do put a lot of stock in that. Trevor Williams on the mound, 2 earned runs allowed in his last 4 starts combined, and he pitched against high quality offenses. Baltimore, Texas, Houston pitched really well against them. He's yet to allow a home run and not allowing a lot of contact. So I like the pitching matchup. I think it's a mismatch here. I think the wrong team's favorite, Scott. I like Washington. Probably be my dog of the day.
Yeah, I agree. Total, by the way, I see around 8.5. So just keep that in mind. Moving on to the next game, you're looking at a matchup between the Guardians and the Rangers. For this one, the Rangers are slight home favorites as they're around minus 125. The Guardians are around plus 105. Bibee pitching against Lorenzen. Both pitchers who I think we had higher expectations for entering the season, and it just has not panned out for either guy. I guess my question is, do you think that Cleveland can hang in there offensively? Because Texas's offense was very solid last week, but you're looking at a team that I still am kind of waiting to see more from on a regular basis. We saw them lose 8-3 against the Rockies yesterday. For today's action, they were getting killed by the Rockies once again. They lost 3-1. So if you're going to lose a series in course to Colorado, I'm not exactly going to trust you at such a cheap number. So I have to go with the dog here. Or wait, I'm trying to remember what the odds exactly
I
were.
think like
Sorry.
125, 135 or something like that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with the dog here. I want to make sure that it wasn't like a minus 110. I feel like it should be a minus 110. I'm just not a big Lorenzen guy. I know that he has had some command issues so far this season. Cleveland's been the better team, but Texas has been a bit underwhelming recently based on how they looked against Colorado in Coors over the weekend. So I'll go with the Guardians money line at plus 105. Maybe I consider the under, but I can't take it. I don't trust either pitcher. So I'll lean to Cleveland getting plus money. You?
Yeah, this is a tough one for me. Texas is also one of those teams who burned me. I thought they would get right in Coors, but they could barely even score any runs, especially today. One run is pathetic. But they're returning back home, back-to-back road series. The offense is inconsistent, like we both mentioned. I'm not really concerned with Cleveland's offense. I mean, especially on the road, they're not really, they're going to give you 3 or 4 runs at the max. Lorenzen has been, he's making his second home start. He was shelled in his last one by Cincinnati. He has allowed 12 earned runs in his last 3 starts, so maybe he's looking to rebound from that. Bobby obviously is the better pitcher, but he hasn't been in good form lately. I mean, 10 earned runs allowed in his last 2 starts. That's up a bunch from allowing 3 in his last 3 combined. So a bit inconsistent for both teams, man. I'm probably going to pass on this, Scott, but if I had to go with anything, I would just lean Texas because they're at home, and I would lean to the under. I think both offenses struggle.
Okay. The under I'm not going to be able to get behind. I'd say on because I just don't trust either pitcher. So I have a hard time making that case for the under, but I think it's a coin flip. So I'll lean to Cleveland. But either way, moving on to the next game, you have the Athletics taking on the Astros. For this one, the Astros are around minus 175. You're looking at the A's being around plus 150. You're looking at Palms are sweaty. Arrighetti pitching again against Ross Stripling. 2 pitchers that absolutely suck. I don't want to lay 175 with Palms are sweaty, but I like the over in this game. I can see runs. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I have no intentions of laying any kind of numbers with Houston. They were good to me today with Verlander on the mound, but man, was it tough watching them this weekend. But especially not with Arrighetti on the mound. I mean, he does pitch better at home, but I mean, I can't trust him. Oakland's offense is kind of spotty at times, but with Stripling on the mound, I mean, he was rocking in his last start. I think he allowed like 8 runs off 10 hits or something like that, but he didn't even make it out of the first inning. He does pitch to contact a lot, so that could be to the Houston's batter's advantage. He's got a low K rate. Houston offense found a rhythm today, but I mean, at home they don't play. They don't play well.
That doesn't change what we've seen this entire season.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how much I can trust them to like put on a show, but I think both teams as a whole will be able to get over this number. I mean, Oakland's scored 8+ runs in 4 of the last 6 games, so they're also over in 7 of the last 10.
The record's also not very good in those games.
Yeah, but we don't need them to be. We don't need them to win.
No, they don't. I'm just saying they've been scoring, but their pitching has fallen off a cliff.
Oh yeah, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, all we need is for them to score, get over that number. But I would lean to Oakland, to be honest with you, against Arrighetti. I mean, I don't think the number is big enough for me to take it, but obviously don't want to lay it with Houston. So I like the over a lot in this game.
Yeah, the total's at 8.5, so I think you might be able to find a really nice team total on Oakland if you want to just fade Arrighetti. So that would be my kind of approach for the total.
Yeah, maybe first 5 team total.
That's going to be a 1.5. I got to assume it's going to be 1.5, and full game will be 3.5. If I had to guess.
I like that.
So first half team total should be 1.5. Moving on though to the next game, you have the Cardinals taking on the Angels, and for this one, well, I mean the Cardinals screwed me on Sunday, but they're still not a good baseball team. And we know for a fact that the Angels suck. So both teams are basically the same. You have, how would you, Liberator? I think that's how you pronounce it, against Soriano. We don't have lines on this one, so cannot really break it down that much. I got no idea. These teams are terrible. Go to a meeting if you want to bet the game. Potentially, I would play the toilet sound effect, but we don't have it in here, so that's a missed opportunity. It's a tank bowl game in the middle of May, So, yeah, I don't have lines. So I guess I'm just going to lean to Liberator because I think he's slightly better than Soriano, but it's really just a very, I'd say, small lean because I think that this game is very, very unpredictable.
Yeah, I think you said it all. I mean, I can't figure out St. Louis. When I
They're
bet on
bad.
them, when I bet on them, they get killed. But I bet against them, they fucking win. So I'm just tapped out on them. Actually, the Halos were pretty good to me this weekend. They got that win against against Kansas City. So I mean, depending on how big of a dog they are, if they are a dog, I might lean towards them. So I might need to call the hotline. But yeah, I got nothing right now since we have no lines.
Yeah. Moving on, though, to the next game, you have the Reds taking on the Diamondbacks. For this game, you are looking at what should be quite entertaining because you got Ashcraft against Montgomery, two pitchers who have been. I mean, Ashcraft's been okay. Montgomery is kind of in a weird spot because he ended up signing late and then he had to rush through actually getting into game shape, and he's 2-2, 4.7 ERA. So he's got a ways to go, but he's been okay, at least compared to some other starters in that rotation. As for the actual odds, the Diamondbacks are minus 145. The Reds are around plus 125. I'm going to ask you, Ashcraft. I backed last time out. That didn't work out, but is he better than Montgomery? I'm not sure. So I think for this one, I might just lean to the under in this game. And this under is currently being set at around 8.5. Cincinnati and Arizona have the reputations of being good offenses, but they're really not if you just watch them play. The Reds' offense has been a mess for the last couple of weeks. Ellie was an MVP frontrunner for a week or so, and then he struggled again after that. But Arizona's been kind of coasting off of last season, and we'll see what happens for the actual potential, I'd say, form of this team moving forward for the next couple weeks. But I think for this one, I am going to lean to the Reds. I just think the wrong team's favored here. Maybe even a plus 125. I like those odds quite a bit. I really think Arizona should not be laying 145. I think that's a crazy price. I know the Reds have been bad. They snapped the losing streak, though, against the Giants, so it could be worse. But I'll lean to the Reds. I just think this price feels a bit off.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are pretty much mirror images of each other to
Yeah.
me.
It's plus
And
125 for a mirrored image team. That's how
yeah,
I'm
and
looking at it.
I think it's a coin flip game. So yeah, I would lean to the dog, but it's hard to trust Cincinnati. I mean, they're in the process of blowing the lead right now. They were up 3-0. Now they're down 5-4. So um yeah, I don't know how much you can trust them. I'm probably just gonna pass on this game, Scott, to be honest. I mean, it's just it's one of those games where if you had to bet it, just flip a coin, bet the dog, flip a coin or bet the dog. I think in this case, I would just bet the underdog. Um
I think
I just
125 is just massive for two teams that are pretty
yeah,
similar.
yeah, it is, and I do think the undercard is a good look as well. Both offenses are struggling mightily, so to say it the least.
All right, moving on to the next game. We have 3 games left on the slate. You have the Rockies taking on the Padres, and for this game, you have Vasquez taking on Quantrill. For the actual lines in this game, for the over/under, I see 8.5. For now, do you see a potential money line in this game?
I don't. I just see the total for whatever reason. I don't know why they don't have that. That's weird.
Let me just check quickly if there are actual sides for this matchup. So just quickly looking, the Padres are around minus 205. So yeah, I don't want to lay 205 with San Diego. Are they better than the Rockies? Yes. Do I want to take them? No. I feel like that's a really, really large price for a Padres team that I find fully psycho. And the Rockies were competitive over the weekend. So yeah, I'll lean to the Rockies here. I think that the Padres are going to potentially underachieve once again. I think you're looking at Vasquez and not being a great pitcher. Quantrill might be better than Vasquez, despite how bad we think Quantrill actually is. So I'll link to the Rockies at what should be a very good price.
Yeah, I'm with you. Colorado single-handedly ruined my weekend. I bet against them every game this weekend, and they won every one.
I just had the over Saturday, and that got there, so I have no complaints.
Yeah. So they had a good weekend. They swept Texas. They won their 4th straight. They've scored 6+ runs in 3 or 4. I mean, all in cores, but their offense hasn't been good in cores until maybe over the past few weeks. So
Yeah.
San Diego, they've struggled offensively in their last few series, but this is a step down in class as far as what the pitchers they've faced. So they split a 4-game set in cores last month, 2 high scoring, 2 low scoring. But I think this one will be high scoring, Scott. I think Colorado's found a little bit of rhythm offensively. Maybe that travels. San Diego, I think they can get to the pitching rotation of Colorado. So I'm going over this number. You said it's 8.5, right?
Yeah, I like the over 2 in this
Yeah,
game. It's not
yeah, I
often
think
you
you're right.
see a total below 9 in cores, and these pitchers aren't good enough
Well, no,
for that
this is
total to
this
be that
isn't
low.
this isn't this is the
Oh, sorry, my
Padres.
bad. No, sorry,
Yeah,
it's in San Diego.
yeah,
Apologies. Yeah, thank you for correcting me on that. I still like the over because I don't trust either
yeah,
pitcher.
I do too. Yeah, yeah,
So,
100%.
yeah, but thank you for correcting me on that.
Yeah, no problem.
Moving on though to the next game, you have the Royals taking on the Mariners, and for this game, you're looking at the Royals. Just actually trying to find a line. Royals are right now getting 124. I see Seattle at plus one. I see Seattle at minus 146. I see Kansas City at plus 124. As for the actual total in this game, I am looking and I see the total being set at 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a listed pitcher for Kansas City. I see rumors it might be Singer, so
Singer.
keep an eye
Yeah,
out
that's
for
what I see.
him.
Yeah, that's what I
And I
see.
see Kirby. So
Yep.
with that pitching matchup, and assuming that the odds are correct, and that the Mariners are around minus 145, do you want to lay 145 with Seattle here? Because I'm not sure if I actually do.
Yeah, I don't. Not with that offense. That offense is horrible. I'm gonna do a little research project to see what were the K props for every Seattle game to see if like the opposing pitcher to see
Mhm.
if they went over or not because I seem like
They strike
they
out every
strike out.
time.
Yeah,
So
every like at a high rate. And I don't trust their offense. Kansas City. I mean, they're fine a bit like inconsistent at times, but I think they're more consistent than what Seattle has offensively. And Kirby, I mean, 2 earned runs in his last 2 home starts allowed. Combined, he's looking to bounce back from a rough start. I mean, he allowed 3 home runs, 4 earned
and
runs.
Minnesota kind of killed them in that game.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm saying only, but he allowed those 3 home runs, only allowed 1 more hit after that, or 2 more hits after that. I think 4 hits combined.
Yeah.
So I mean, he doesn't allow a lot of contact, and I'm not sure Kansas City will be able to maybe hit him as well as they've been hitting some of these other guys. And Singer, if it is him, he's been awesome. I mean, 2 earned runs or less in 7 of his 8 starts. Hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs on the road. I think we see an under here, Scott, man. Seattle's under in 68% of their games. Kansas City's under in 63% of theirs, under in 67% on the road. So I think we see a 2-3 type of game, maybe even, I guess at best, we get maybe a 4-2. But either way, I think the under hits.
Yeah, I can get behind that logic. The problem is the total's a flat 7, and I have a hard time taking unders on flat 7. So, I mean, in theory, if it's 3-3, you get extras, and then you automatically push worst case scenario. But I think I'm going to agree with you. I'll lean under. I think you see a lower scoring game. Seattle's ballpark's very pitcher friendly, and I think both pitchers are going to deal. So I agree with you on that one. And time for the last game on the slate. You have the Dodgers taking on the Giants. For this game, Dodgers are obviously favored by a ton, but you're looking at the Dodgers. Quickly just pulling up a price here. Totals at 7.5, and for the actual money line, I do see a potential pitching issue for. No, sorry, I take it back. I see Hicks on both. I thought I saw somebody else. But for the sake of the money line, the Dodgers are obviously going to be massive favorites. Dodgers are around minus 168 actually, which is cheaper than usual. You kind of figured to be in the 200s. So I think at first glance, I'm going to lean to the Dodgers. I get the argument is Hicks has been pretty good this season. Doesn't exactly go much lengths, and the Giants bullpen's a catastrophe. So it wouldn't shock me if the Dodgers maybe fall behind early, and then they get to Hicks at the end, or maybe Hicks ends up getting his pitch count worked up, and the bullpen comes in and blows the game. So I think the way I'm going to look at this game is maybe Giants first 5, and then you pivot over when Hicks is almost done for the day, and you could end up fading this Giants bullpen. I'll lean to the Dodgers, though. I think they get the job done, but I do think at the end of the day, you're looking at a game that can maybe be a bit more competitive than people think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if you look at the Dodgers pretty much had their number last month. They won 8-3, 5-4, 5-4. So some competitive game and 6-4, I'm sorry. So they have some competitive games, I mean, outside of one blowout. And I think Hicks is pitching really well. So I'm leaning towards the Giants here, Scott. I think the Giants can get it done at home. I mean, they've played up to the level of competition. They played down to the level of competition. I mean, they played them tough. They got swept, of course, but they did play them tough. I think 2 of those victories by the Dodgers were maybe come from behind, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the Giants can hang with Hicks here. I mean, I may be even looking at a first 5 as a heavier play because I don't want the bullpens to get involved. And the more that the Dodgers lineup kind of sees Hicks, they're kind of going to adjust. So I might go first 5 with the Giants, but I do lean to them full game as well.
Yeah. That's going to do it, though, for the actual game previews. And now it's time for the lock and dog picks. But before we continue that, do want to remind you once again, we are brought to you by Royal Retros. If you're looking to prove that you know ball, what better way to showcase that than finding some old school jerseys to wear? You're looking at Royal Retros having jerseys, t-shirts, hats, jackets, sweatshirts, and more from the vintage sports leagues and teams you know and love. Dirty Bird, the Orange Crush, or the Sack Exchange all make for sick jerseys for real fans. They also have baseball options if you want to go for the Big Red Machine, for example. If you want to go for a retro throwback jersey, maybe like a Ricky Henderson A's jersey, a couple of options you have there. Either way, the point is use the promo code SGPN for 10% off your order today. It's code SGPN at royalretros.com to get 10% off. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Just finished previewing every game for the Monday slate. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. Long time to let you go first. What are your lock and dog picks?
Yeah, so for the lock, man, I'm gonna go with Boston at home. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I think Crawford is the better pitcher. He's been really good. Just hasn't had a lot of run support. So I think he's gonna be able to shut down that Tampa offense. Tampa had a decent weekend offensively against our Yankees, but they did kind of lose the series. I think we won 2-1, if I'm not mistaken. But their offense kind of woke up. But on the road is where they struggle offensively the most. I think Boston at home, while they haven't been the most consistent at home, I think they can get it done behind Crawford. So I'll split it. I'll split a unit. I'll go first 5 for Boston, and for a half unit, and then full game for another half unit. Now let's see. For my dog, let me make sure that we got the right price. Yeah, let's go with San Francisco, 142. We're gonna go with Jordan Hicks. We literally just talked about the game, so I don't want to reiterate anything. But I do think San Francisco has seen them one time already in one series in Dodger Stadium. So I think that the familiarity will be there. Obviously, being in a division, the familiarity is there. But I think they can sneak out and get a good one. So just like with the lock, I'm gonna split a unit, first 5 on Hicks, and then first 5 full game.
All right. So for my lock on the show, I got to figure out what I want because I think the Phillies are just blindly appealing at this price.
I didn't take the Phillies because I figured you would.
It's just such a low number, but the question is, would I rather have that or would I rather have the Nationals fading flexing? I mean, the Nationals did not have a good weekend. They're back below 500 again. The White Sox, you mentioned being a thorn in your side, but they're objectively a terrible baseball team. So a couple of options here, but I think I am going to go with the one involving the Phillies. I just think that you're looking at a team that's in great form. I know they lost the game in extras to the Marlins. They were going for the sweep. It happens, but they still scored a bunch of runs, and I have a hard time trusting the Mets offense to keep pace. So for me, give me the Phillies money line at minus 125 as my lock. For my dog, I think for this one, I am going to go with, I'm trying to think of what I want to do. I can go for a baby dog or a regular one. You know what? I'll go regular. Give me the Nationals money line with Williams on the mound. I have no idea. Wait, sorry. I meant
their favorite, right?
No, I meant to say the run line. I was going to take the Nationals minus 1.5.
Yeah.
So I think that they potentially bury this team. I get the argument is that the Nationals are in a bit of a, I don't want to say slump because they lost a couple to Boston, but I do think they're the better team. And I can't ignore Trevor Williams' numbers. He's had a phenomenal, I'd say, renaissance year where he's turned back the clocks and looks very solid. But if you want to actually find a very good deal, the Nationals on the run line is around plus 138, which I find pretty appealing because the White Sox are a really bad team. So I'll go once again, my lock being Philly on the money line at around, I think it's minus 125. But let me just check to see if there's a better line for that.
I think so.
Yeah, 25 is the best I'm going to get. So once again, my lock's going to be on the Phillies money line at minus 125. My dog will be on the Nationals minus 1.5 at around plus 138. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of the MLB Gambling Podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. You can find Lonte on Twitter at XX Lonte XX. Reminder, we're also on the NBA show, and it's going to be start of the WNBA season on Tuesday. So Terrell and I are going to do an episode Monday night to get you ready for opening night in the WNBA. Lonte, before we officially wrap up, anything you want to add?
No, man. Hopefully it can turn into better luck this week. So, yeah, good luck to everybody with your bets.
Yep. Either way, though, until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.